who made clear they didn't want to hear any more about prayer. They wanted to do something. Didn't seem to care if it was wrong. They wanted to do something. Well, John Lott Jr. had this article May 26 in Newsweek, and just touching on certain parts, he said, just as with so many of these attackers, talking about the shooter in Uvalde, he said the man who attacked Robb Elementary School picked a place where people were banned from carrying concealed weapons. For example, the perpetrator of the Buffalo shooting from a couple of weeks ago wrote in his manifesto, quote, areas where carrying with a concealed weapon are outlawed or prohibited may be good areas of attack. He put that in the manifesto in case people just were too dense to understand that it draws shooters if they know they've got soft targets. John Lott says teachers and staff can carry concealed handguns in about 30% of Texas school districts. So we don't need to guess how the policy would work. 19 other states also allow concealed carry in schools. Since the year 2000, there is yet to be a single case of someone being wounded or killed from a shooting, let alone a mass public shooting, between 6 a.m. and midnight at a school that lets teachers carry guns. While there have not been any problems with armed teachers, the number of people killed at schools without concealed carry has increased significantly over the course of the last decade. Biden's speech Tuesday night contained one misleading or false statement after another. Instead of trying to bring the country together, it politicized the attack. When mentioning the Sandy Hook, Parkland, Santa Fe, and Oxford school shootings, Biden claimed that there were 900 instances of gunfire at schools over the last 10 years. But someone committing suicide in a car parking lot at 2 a.m., two at schools two gangs fighting over drug turf in a parking lot after school hours, and an accidental discharge in a firearms training class are not remotely similar to the sort of shooting that happened on Tuesday. Even including lone suicides, accidental discharges, including those by police, and gang fights, the number, as compiled by my organization, the Crime Prevention Research Center, is about half of what Biden claims it is, 470. Since 1998, there have been a total of 9 attacks similar to the Robb Elementary School shooting. 9 is 9 too many. Once you adjust for population, there are many other countries, from Germany to Russia to Finland, that have comparable rates of school shootings. Biden says we need common sense gun laws, but what he proposes simply will not help. He doesn't seem to realize that over 92% of violent crime in America has nothing to do with guns. Focusing on so-called assault weapons is not only not going to stop mass public shootings, but it won't make a difference in reducing murders at large. Only a small share of murders, and again, one's too many, but a small share of murders are committed with rifles, let alone so-called assault rifles. And that share has grown even smaller over time. The percentage of firearm murders committed with rifles was 4.8% prior to the federal, quote, assault weapons, unquote, ban that took effect in September of 1994. When the ban was in effect from 1995 to 2004, the figure stood at 4.9%, up 0.1% with the so-called assault weapons ban in effect. But since 2004, it's been even lower. Based on these numbers, it's hard to argue that the ban did anything at all. Biden claimed, quote, "When we passed the assault weapons ban, mass shootings went down. When the law expired, mass shootings tripled." In fact, there was no drop in the number of attacks with assault weapons and virtually no change in total mass shootings during the 94 to 2004 ban. And, we know from the rules of the House, can't say anybody lied, including the president, but whoever was putting those words in his teleprompter sure was, because that just didn't happen. Misrepresented the truth. I'm sure not intentionally. Biden asked Americans why people need assault weapons to hunt deer, but in reality, many so-called assault weapons are nothing more than small game hunting rifles. The AR-15 platform has just been made to cosmetically resemble a military-grade weapon. But for people that know weapons, it fires a .223 round. It's just 300, or actually 3,000ths bigger a round than a .22. Now, we were taught in military science, and I had an Army scholarship at Texas A&M, that Vietnam, they'd gone to the M16, now the M4, same basic gun, but it fires the same size round, or in the metric system, 5.56. But we were taught that, it's a higher speed, but the rounds are lighter weight, therefore our military can carry more of them. But we were also taught it's certainly not more lethal than what was being used before with a 7.62 round, or .762 round. The Uvalde tragedy, John Lott says, will inevitably lead to a push for so-called red flag laws, or extreme risk protection orders. You would never know this from the media coverage, but the federal government and every state already have laws on the books that deal with people who are a danger to themselves or to others. These laws are commonly known as Baker Act statutes, though they go by different names in different states. They typically allow police, doctors, and family members to have someone held for a mental health examination based on a simple reasonableness test, effectively amounting to an educated guess. Further down, when faced with legal bills that can easily amount to $10,000 for a hearing, few people find that it makes sense to fight a red flag law just to keep their gun. Judges will thus initially confiscate a person's gun on the basis of a written complaint and, quote, reasonable suspicion, unquote. But when hearings take place weeks later, courts overturn a third of the initial orders. But since few defendants have legal representation, the actual error rate is undoubtedly much higher. When people pose a clear danger to themselves or to others, they should be confined to a mental health facility. If someone is really suicidal, simply taking away his gun won't solve the problem anyway. If anything, red flag laws harm people who need genuine help. Absent such laws, a person contemplating suicide might speak to a friend or a family member and be dissuaded from that tragic course of action. It's well past time that we address these mass public shootings, but let's come up with proposals that matter, starting with elimination of gun-free zones. It also is worth noting although some say assault weapons ban would reduce mass shootings. And they think that an assault weapon would be an automatic weapon. Hear that over and over. And actually, automatic weapons are already illegal and unavailable to the general public. Assault weapons are only available to the military. Though you have people that are vying for gigs on CNN or MSNBC that may say otherwise, but people that actually are not, don't have an ulterior motive, they know an AR-15 is most often used as a defensive weapon. And why I have heard more people like an AR-15 with such a small round as a defensive weapon at home is people that don't fire weapons often, they end up twitching before the gun is fired, which is extremely harmful to the accuracy. The AR-15, because the round is so small, it doesn't have much of a kick at all. And so people not used to using guns actually can be more accurate and find it more helpful. We have people here saying you shouldn't have more than 5 rounds. Yet, if you have multiple people coming into your home threatening your family, and they will each have guns, most likely, you need that.